Hey guys, we're here at CES 2016 and I'm here with Scott Croyle from NextBit. One of the coolest products to come out of Kickstarter last year and pretty much in my opinion, ever. We've already gone hands-on with the NextBit Robin last year at September, but what we've got here is a much more working model as well as a new color, and Scott's going to talk us through some of the improvements that's happened since our initial hands-on, and then I'll give you some of my opinions and we'll just have a conversation about where NextBit's going from here.
Cool.
Thank you for coming down, and yeah, we had obviously I came and saw you guys here in Vegas in September.
Yep.
It was really cool
What's
product.
changed since then?
What's changed and what's been improved, and what kind of growing pains have you had in the last few months?
Well, you know, I mean, product development, it's messy. That's the reality. And so because we did Kickstarter, all that's been kind of exposed to people, not only to you, but to kind of people out there in the world. And so, you know, we had phones in September when we met, and they were okay quality. But the whole goal between September and now, when we're basically about ready to ship, is kind of dialing everything in, making sure that the gaps between the parts, making sure that are perfect, making sure that the machining is looking right, making sure that the paint finishes are right. That's on the hardware side, and then on the software side, you know, what you saw were kind of early prototypes. I mean, yes, it was working, kind of. You know what I mean? So we had kind of high confidence level, but now what you're looking at is a phone where it's kind of starting to all get dialed in. You know, I use one as my daily driver now every day, and it's terrific. You know, but we're filing bugs every day on kind of what that's like to kind of live with the phone, and making sure not only the kind of core functionality of the software is there, but also kind of our enhanced cloud functionality. You know, kind of allowing everybody to not run out of space on their phone, kind of bringing that kind of cloud-first approach to the operating system.
I mean, that was one of probably my favorite things about the NextBit Robin, is that where others have just gone, oh, here's micro SD, we've taken the approach in a completely different way of how do we just be different, and that's what, like I said, the Robin and the NextBit Cloud is what really sets the phone apart. Just have a quick play, and I mean, when I saw this in September, we agree, it was kind of janky. It was an early prototype,
a little choppy.
But
you broke one. A lot of people don't know that, but you broke one actually during your hands-on.
Yes, I think we can admit this in this video. I was. Well, they're still here talking to us, but yes, I managed to break one of their
But that's
Robins.
what happens with early prototypes. You know, the reality is that you discover like, oh, we did this. Oh, there's a problem. Let's figure out a mechanical engineering fix for that, or there's a double E fix for that, or a software fix for that. So that's
rather I broke it than we found out later on. And
that's
I will
right.
say one thing, right down to the hardware. Just this feels a lot more, like you said earlier. There were early prototypes. The build was there, but it was okay.
Yeah.
What we've got here now is a phone that I think anyone would be happy to use. I will say that just playing with the phone itself like this is so snappy, which wasn't there before, and
That's
I'm really
right.
happy.
That's
and
right.
I guess is now any app can we use with the cloud, right? So we can just upload that thing. Do we have any more information you want to reveal about the cloud and the pricing or anything like that?
Well, I don't think there's any new information. It is available for pre-order now for $399 US. We're going to stop pre-orders on January 15th, and that's mainly because when we actually ship both the Kickstarter units, which are all going out in February, as well as pre-orders, we're going to have limited quantity just kind of coming up the production ramp. So we're going to end those pre-orders on January 15th, and I think the goal there is actually deliver all kind of Kickstarter units and pre-orders in the month of February. Our retail store, our e-commerce store, will go live also on February 16th. So we're excited about that, and there'll be lots more information about Robin and NextBit on there, as well as forums, kind of launching the forums and moving that kind of dialogue from Kickstarter onto our website, but then also kind of having that dialogue where people want to have it, whether it's on social, the forums, or wherever. Just want to make sure people have a lot of avenues to kind of ask us questions and have a conversation about what we're doing.
And that's really what set you guys apart. It's not just here's a phone and there's no after sales. It really is kind of just, we want to bring people into the NextBit ecosystem and make people happy.
Yeah, I think it really came from this kind of concept when we had already started the phone. We were talking about, well, what do we want our brand to be? And we feel like the industrial design is fresh. We've taken kind of a disruptive approach of baking the cloud into the operating system. And we're kind of like, we want something that kind of feels more authentic. And if I look at traditional marketing, pretty person holds phone on the stage. We film them. We all watch that video and like, oh, I can be pretty, or I'll hang out with those people. I'm going to go buy that phone. We just feel like that's, I don't know. It just feels like BS, to be honest with you. It doesn't feel
Completely
authentic.
agree.
And so we wanted to create something that really reflected the values of us as a person, of people, which translate into the company. And I think that means having some transparency and having an open dialogue with people. And having, getting their feedback and understanding what they want us to do. Not to say we're always going to be able to do that, but I think people want to have a say in what we're doing. And I think you could see that on Kickstarter. You know, we had like 10 times the engagement of the other top 25 tech products on Kickstarter, which was powerful. It's powerful just kind of seeing people, and it wasn't always good, by the way. So people were telling us like, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that. But it was super, super fun to kind of be a part of that process. And we learned so much from it.
I agree completely. I mean, just on the subject of Kickstarter, because we've obviously seen before that we've got it available in these two colors, which I saw. And then this really, really cool, I mean, I wish I'd back this on Kickstarter now because I actually want this color.
You can't get it. You can't get it.
There you go, guys.
It's gone.
I've missed out, so if any of you want to send yours over to me, feel free, because this is probably one of my favorite color of the lot. Although you can get it in these two, the Kickstarter exclusive color, you guys allowed Kickstarter to choose this color, basically.
That's right.
Didn't you?
That's right. So we basically asked people to submit what they wanted. We put a file out there so people could do their own colorway. We got something like 350 entries, and then we tried to look for some trends, kind of some common ground between the entries. Basically picked 5, and then people voted on which one they wanted to see, and electric was the one.
I mean,
and it is pretty hot.
Oh no, I love this.
I know.
Seriously, it's like,
I know.
The other colors are really, really nice, and I mean, I personally would say, because I can't get the Kickstarter one, the gray is just, it's clean,
Midnight.
and it's midnight, and it's just got, the thing that sets it apart more than anything is, it's just got the other color button on there.
That's
just,
right.
Just to kind of be different
it's
again.
It's just like a little subtle color, bringing a little pop into the world, yeah.
And that's exactly what you need. So tell us, what was the inspiration behind the design of this, and right down to, you know, as I said in our hands-on, we've kind of gone circular all around the front and the back, which I remember you telling me about.
Yeah.
What was the design behind that? Why go with that and not say rounded curves and the things that the more traditional design that we see now?
Sure. You know, I've worked on a lot of phones in my life, and you know, there's a lot of different kind of voices and input in the design process. Not that it's bad, it just it kind of leads to kind of a lot of different value kind of conversations and kind of what you want to do. So with this particular design, I just wanted to do something a little bit more personal, something that kind of reflected kind of my value set. And I think the hope there, it's not that my value set is the best phone out there, but the hope is that, you know, hopefully there's enough common ground there with people that are going to be potentially buying our phone are going to like it. And that's the hope. And I think that's kind of, it's one of the things about, I think good design should be provocative. And that's what I wanted to do. You know, I look at like the iPhone and every Android phone, we put them out here on the table, not a lot is standing out. And so I wanted something that kind of was remarkable, that kind of stood out. Memorable, but I also still wanted it to be premium. And so I think, you know, I didn't want to be iconic for just iconic's sake. And I don't want it to be uncomfortable in the hand. I don't want it to be hard to use. And I want it to be robust, and I still want to find premium. So really the premium nature of Robin comes from kind of the reduction of detail and the kind of just the honesty and transparency about the design. You know, like the way we do the dual front-facing speakers, there's just a soft impression, the machined holes, so it's beautiful. But then all of a sudden you start to see this repeated circle motif where the front-facing sensors, they're just honest. We're not trying to hide them behind the black piece of glass like, you know, I've done in the past, or a lot of people do in the past. It's just treated very honestly. You come over the side, there's volume buttons, just very straightforward, the design. And then again, you see the circle motif on the back where, again, the camera and flash. We didn't try to make the flash as small as possible. We just wanted something that was simple, something that was clean, and something that was modern. And so we chose the same size. And all of a sudden you kind of start to see all these details come together to create something that actually has a lot of personality.
Well, let's be fair, with all the circle motifs, it is you. It's not, there's no one else really doing, some people do circle in one part, but you guys, like I said, you're the only ones doing circle. You started with 1, you started with 2, and then suddenly it became almost kind of synonymous with the Robin.
Right.
It's all about the circles, it's all about just being as completely different as you can, like you said.
It's almost like a little naivete or a little playfulness on it. Because like if I were to describe to you that, hey, you know, we designed a phone, it's a box, you'd be like, okay, number 1, boring. Number 2, kind of sounds kind of serious. And so it needed some lightness in the design. And so that's where the circles kind of came from, that kind of bring that kind of friendliness and lightness to the design.
I mean, it's absolutely awesome. Just even the hardware, like I said, I've obviously been quite lucky to be able to see the transition and the development of it from the very early in September to even last month when we were in London.
It's pretty
together.
Scary, isn't it?
It is. It's difficult for me to say just how much it has improved, but it is massive. I mean, if you watched our hands-on, it was there, but it was.
Yeah.
We could see it was still a while away. What we've got here is actually a phone that, like you said, you use it as your personal driver,
right.
And finally we've got something that works together. And I actually like the fact that we're seeing, you know, the default apps that you guys have got, the circle motif continues through the UI. It's almost like if you could design this as a circle, you would have, wouldn't you? You'd have made a circular
No, I don't
phone.
think so. That doesn't sound very usable. I want a square screen because that's the type of content that I use. So, but no, I mean, I think your thinking is right. Is that we just wanted something that we're kind of all like we strike in the chord on a lot of different places, down from here down to the packaging. Like all these kind of conversations around the product and the brand. First of all, it's easier to do, to be super honest, as a startup company, if you're kind of paying attention to that detail, because there's less noise, there's less things that you're dealing with. But it's an opportunity to kind of start from scratch on something. And that's been, for me, that's been one of the kind of coolest things about being at NextBit is that, I've learned so much just in the last 18 months. And I've been around for a long time, so that's been super powerful and it's been super fun, like being a part of that. And by the way, just one other thing, when we were looking at those early prototypes, I have to say, I look casual, like, oh, we'll get all that nailed down. It's always like a tightrope. I love product development, I love kind of working on this stuff. But like even on those early days, you're never for sure that, hey, we're gonna get all this stuff nailed. You just have to have confidence that you've got a great team. And then you just gotta drive, and kind of, make sure that we're held accountable, because who's gonna hold us accountable? People that are buying this phone. So
I completely agree, and like I said, you've nailed it. It's like whether there was any doubt.
Well, let's get a review unit in your hands.
I agree. I think we should definitely do that. But one of the things that one of our users said was so far we've seen the demos of the NextBit we've seen so far have really only been the gallery that's been backed up to the cloud and back, and maybe Spotify. So do you want to maybe just show a couple of other apps, just so you can see that it is pretty much any app on the phone is now available to go to the cloud?
Yeah, sure. So
But
do you want to show it to the screen here? All right. So I think with the way this phone is configured right now is we basically just forced a bunch of apps to offload. And the algorithm, though, for consumers is it's basically a simple queue. And so as you start installing apps and you start taking photos, we start backing that stuff up to the cloud. But by default, we do it when you're plugged in on Wi-Fi, so there's no extra battery drain, there's no data consumption. And then as you use the phone for 6 months or 9 months, a simple queue kind of gets developed. If you use an app, it goes to the back of the queue. If you look at a photo, it goes to the back of the queue. And so what bubbles up are the things that you're the least likely to open. So for example, if I come over here and I'm like, you know what, I actually haven't opened Pandora in a while, I can just tap this. Now it's restoring Pandora. So what's happening is it's pulling the app back down from the cloud. And once it gets pulled back down, it'll install it. It'll hook back up their credentials and app data, which are on the phone. And once we launch that, you can see that dot actually shows that it's actually doing the installation process now. Once we launch it, all your radio stations will be there. So it's like it's never been removed once it's been restored.
But it's just it's a great way, like you said. One of the things that got personally for me about the Robin was that case scenario of being at a festival or something where you're struggling, you've got no extra storage, you run out of space. This is what you need. It's something that you can just almost take stuff off the phone that you don't need to make sure you have enough space to capture those memories without having to sit there for hours, sort through the gallery, and then have to deal with all of that.
That's right. And by the way, when you get that message, first of all, you've missed that moment. It's gone, and it's never going to come back again. And then you've actually got to go delete stuff on the fly and figure out, okay, am I going to open that app again? Which app should I remove? We just don't think that with the power, the resources of the cloud, you should actually have to do that. You shouldn't have to yes, you're going to want to clean out your phone at some point, but when you're on the fly and you're in that moment, that should not be the case.
Completely agree. So
here Pandora's actually downloaded, so I'm just going to launch Pandora.
It's working, guys. It's pretty much any app on your phone that you don't need. It's great.
You can see it's got all these radio stations, so it's off and running, so it's already been logged back in.
Just let's go away from the Robin for a second. Let's just talk about NextBit, because we obviously pressed for time, but how many devices did we get? It just took numbers, Kickstarter and pre-orders. What was the total figures? Is that you're allowed to, or even
I don't
estimate?
remember. I think we had about 3,600 backers on Kickstarter. We're not announcing the numbers on pre-orders, but I'd have to go back and actually get the number of devices. I think it's around 3,500 or something like that in terms of devices.
And then the last question I have for you is, because everyone wants to know, we've got this amazing product. What's next from NextBit?
Yeah, what's next?
You knew we would ask this question, Scott. Come on.
Well, look, I think we have. First of all, we've heard from the community a lot of things. Like the community asked us for a CDMA SKU, so we're working super hard to try to get that. They asked us to ship it to Australia, so we've added that in. From a software perspective, we've heard stuff like, I want my photos to be better. I want battery life to be better. I want the setup of my next phone to be easier. So there's lots of things I think that we can use the cloud to kind of enhance each one of these areas. So yeah, we've got to get this out the door, and then we can start focusing on some of those next features. By the way, we have also We do have some kind of things that we're working on that which will come late Q1, early Q2, like for video support. So right now we do photos and apps. We'll add in video support pretty shortly thereafter. And then also the ability to look at your photos on another platform through a web browser. So we're working on those things already.
Awesome. And yeah, well, thank you very much for coming down and giving us another look at the Robin, but not just the Robin that I've seen, but the Robin the actual Robin that's eventually going out the door.
That people are going to get.
And I will say one thing, guys, it's a lot smoother and it's a lot nicer than it was in September, even in December. That I can personally say, having seen this, the sheer amount of growth and the development of this means that not only is the phone great as it is now, but we know that the future, that you work hard on development, on product development, to really make sure that the user experience remains premium at all times.
Yeah, I think that's the hope, right?
And I will say, if you don't have one already, I really like the Robin personally. Waiting for my review unit, Scott.
All right, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you very much, Scott Croyle, for coming down and having a chat to us about the Robin. It's a really good product, and like you said, you'll be able to see this and see some of the footage with the new version, just the improvements in the performance. Stay tuned at AndroidAuthority.com, because we are your source for all things Android, and we're here live from CES 2016. Until next time.